I suppose as time goes on, the older you get, in a funny way, the less you know. The more you learn, the more you have to learn. And who's James Baldwin? He was born 56 years ago in Harlem Hospital. And he writes. He wonders, he suffers. Though I'm not really a specialist at suffering, which is inevitable and sometimes a little too easy. I like to laugh, and I like people. And that's about all I can tell you at the moment. There's a lot more to the cat than that.
I bet there is. Are you compelled to write?
Yeah. Nobody would do it if you weren't compelled.
What compels you?
That's a very good question. I don't know. One has a kind of, it has something to do with one's relationship to oneself, which is very difficult. One can't talk about that. All I can tell you is that I started writing around the time I learned to read. I was fascinated by words. I don't know why. And I'm fascinated by people, They're great. We are, the greatest spectacle, I think, in the universe. The most unpredictable, the most terrifying, sometimes the saddest, sometimes the noblest. But everything people do fascinates me, the curious ways in people, for example, the curious ways in which I can manage to fool myself into or out of this or that.
And why do you fool yourself?
People always try to fool themselves for one reason or another. The trick is to know it, Well, people don't, one doesn't want to get hurt. Let's put it that way, And everybody, I think, has a tendency, which one has to fight, to hold on to what you think you know. You don't like to have your certainties disturbed. Because, you come by them with such difficulty. And life is always smashing into pieces, all of my certainties, all the things I thought I knew when I was young, say 40, turned out to be, for the most part, illusions.
Smashed to pieces.
Smashed to pieces, You pick it up and start again, And in all of that, I think something else begins to happen, which is possibly a kind of, kind of good-natured reconciliation, kind of an awareness that everything is much vaster than you can imagine, really, much worse and much better.
It interests me, though, that you say you like to laugh.
Yeah.
And yet you speak of suffering, and a lot of your writing reflects suffering and anguish. And where do you then find your laughter?
Oh, well, I don't know. I don't think anyone can answer that either. I think that very probably, though, I think that you probably can't laugh if you can't suffer. I think that
Interesting.
The joy and the suffering are intertwined somehow. I can't explain that at all, But I think if you, as long as you're able to feel, really feel, you're certainly going to suffer. But that isn't all, If you can love, for example, you're going to suffer and you're going to laugh, If you're going to love a woman or a man or raise a child, or become involved in this journey we call life, which is the only one we have, then everything comes with it, briny tears and and great days. I suppose you can't have the one without the other.
Do you feel in your writing, do you write to inform, to reflect, or to purge, or is there some composite of all three?
I suppose it's a composite of all of those things. It's I write perhaps to describe. Perhaps the best way for me to put it is, I remember something somebody told me a long time ago, so long ago I don't remember who it was, and maybe something I read. But the purport of what was conveyed to me was conveyed to me when I was in terrible trouble. And somebody said, describe it. Describe it. If you can describe it, you can control it. And if you can control it, you can outwit it. You can get beyond it if you can describe it. In order to describe it, you have to face it. And I think that's true. I know that's been true for me, you know, insofar as you can never say that you, I don't think anything has ever really escaped, but it is perpetually being overcome.
Because you describe it.
Yeah.
And in your descriptions, you present us with slices of life. And these slices of life, are they taken from what you experience, or what you experience in reality, or what you experience vicariously? Or do you sometimes just fantasize a little? What's the best way to describe how you draw up a slice of life to present in prose?
I'm not sure I can describe that at all. The word autobiography is a very peculiar word because people always think it means, you know, specific details of a particular life. You know, when he got married, when he got divorced, and how many children he has, and all that. That's part of it. But it's also, people overlook the fact that it's also that second when you see a butterfly. You know, it's a kind of quicksilver. You know, it's the atmosphere of your life, which is what you end up putting on the page. You know, so that some very obviously you can tell from what I've written that I'm the oldest son of 9 children, or of many children. You have some idea from what I've written of what my relationship was to my father or to my stepfather. But the other part of everybody, you know, the butterfly, I say, you know, the evanescence, something which is always on the wing, you know, that like that moment which is irrecoverable when you fall in love for the first time. You know, that moment stains your life forever, and everything you see thereafter, you know, is somehow colored by that. You know, by things inexpressible. They're too swift to be, you know, to be caught, and yet that is what, you know, that's what writing is all about.
Encapsulation of a period of time.
Yeah, well, you see, time is time is, if you don't know how to use it, time is the enemy. You know, and time of one's life and the time of a book, you know, are not at all the same, but they feed on each other, if you see what I mean. The time is arbitrary, you know. It's partly our invention. It is partly our enemy. And we have to turn it into a friend because it is the only element we have. You know, one has to make the most at the time.
And through writing, do you feel then that you control time? Can you control time?
You control it in the book. Let me take that back. You control it to a very limited extent in the book or the play or the poem. The writer is aware that this is arbitrary because the great limit to the effort is that, what's the matter?
No, I'm fascinated by your idea of time and controlling it.
It's sort of like trying to control a river. You see what I mean? So, you know, one has to accept that you are doing something which is impossible, really. And it's the limit, you know, trying to become an artist makes you very humble because you know how little you can do, no matter how long you live. And then in any case, the arbitrary nature of time and the limit set to your endeavor is contained in 2 words. It's contained in the end.